Hi there, I'm Father Dom, and this is What I Think. A popular question I get whenever I start talking about priesthood or do vocation talks anywhere around the Archdiocese has to do with priestly celibacy and asking if I regret not having a family. This is a very good question to ask because it is something that's very much a part of our own humanity. I mean, we were created to be in relationship with one another. The very first commandment that God gave to humanity, to Adam and Eve in the scriptures, is to be fruitful and multiply. We were created to be in relationship with each other. And so it's a very fair and valid question to ask. Is celibacy a good thing? Do we think that celibacy is necessary for preparing anybody to enter into the kingdom of heaven? Well, yes, it is. Celibacy is a good thing and a good way of entering into the kingdom of heaven. Celibacy is a great sacrifice and a great penitential practice that helps one die to ourself, die to their self, and live for Christ Jesus, which is generally why you see people in religious communities or priests taking such vows or promises of celibacy. So, celibacy is a great thing. Is it unnatural? Yes, because again, we were created to be in relationship with other people. But is celibacy bad? Of course not, because celibacy helps us to focus on what's truly important. It's not just being in a relationship, but rather it's giving of your whole self to another person, or rather to a lifestyle, to a life choice. For me and my priesthood, I've given my whole self over to Christ and his church. I'm sacrificing that natural desire to be in relationship, to be in union with another person, especially my complementary counterpart with another woman. Okay, so I am making that sacrifice, that call. I feel the Lord has called me to be a celibate man, and I do that for the sake of Christ and his church. And so do I regret not having a family? Absolutely not. When I was younger, even through the seminary, I discerned and thought about being a biological father a lot and being married, and I had girlfriends before I entered the seminary, and so I was obviously thinking about marriage. I was discerning my own vocation to see if I was actually called to the sacrament of marriage, and I found that my vocation was to be a priest, and is to be a priest. And so no, I don't regret not having a family. I don't miss having a family because I never had a family. I was part of a family. I still am part of a family. I see my family quite often. And so there's no regrets at all. I know that God has called me to be a celibate priest, and I absolutely love my vocation. I love my priesthood. There's absolutely nothing I would trade in the world for my priesthood. I absolutely love being a priest, and I love being celibate. It's great. But this is the vocation that God has called me to, which is why I love it so much and why I find a lot of joy and happiness in it. If God wasn't calling me to be celibate, I'd be miserable as a celibate. If God wasn't calling me to be a priest, I'd be miserable as a priest. But God has called me here, and so that's why I'm filled with joy and so happy to be a priest and to be celibate at the same time. Now, of course, the celibate priesthood is a practice, right? So celibate priesthood is not a doctrine or dogma of the church. I mean, in the Eastern Church, in some of our Orthodox churches, and even in our Eastern Catholic churches, we have married priests. And so it's very possible that one day in the Roman Western Catholic Church we'll have a married priesthood. It's definitely possible, but I don't think it would be a great idea, and I don't think that will happen anytime soon, mainly because the culture around priests, especially in the Western Church, is drastically different from the culture around priests in our Eastern Catholic churches and even in the Eastern Orthodox Church. And so priests are not called upon in the same way in Eastern rites as we are in the Western Church. Priests here in the United States, I mean, people come to us for everything. But I cannot imagine doing everything that I do as a priest and then have a family on top of that. And just look at it this way. Your grandmother is dying in the hospital. On hospice, doctor comes in, says, within a couple hours, grandma's going home to the Lord. Have you called your parish priest yet? No, we haven't. Let's call Father. Ring, ring, answer the phone. Found out that your grandma's dying in the hospital. Well, I'm so sorry. I wish I could be there. But I got to go to my son's baseball game. I haven't been to any of his baseball games at all this season. I have to make it to at least one of them. So I'm sorry I can't go. Or I don't even want to have that conversation with you, so I'm just not even going to answer the phone. I'm just going to see it's the hospital and just, I can't go to the hospital right now. I got to go to my son's baseball game. How does that make you feel? Not very good, right? Doesn't make you feel good at all. And it shouldn't, right? I'm ordained to do these things. I was ordained to bring the sacraments to people when they need them most. You should be upset. You should feel really bad. But I have a son, and my son has not seen me at any of his baseball games. I've been an absent father to my son because I've been doing so many other things in my parish. And so now put yourself in the shoes of the kid whose dad, the priest, has been absent for so much of his life because he's helping other people. Well, why doesn't my dad help me? My dad is present for all of these people. My dad's never present for me. That's also very hard, and that also should leave us uneasy, because no parent should ever be absent from their kid's life. And now put yourself in the shoes of a priest who has to choose between his biological flock, his biological children, his actual domestic church family, and his parish family, his spiritual children, his spiritual flock, his parish church. That's really hard. And priesthood is hard enough without having to make those two choices. And so I think if you took away the sacrifice and the call and the obligation of celibacy from the priesthood, you would start seeing a huge problem in parishes around the country. And so that's why I think a celibate priesthood is the way to go. If the church ever discerned and decided that now is the end of celibacy for the priesthood, priests will be allowed to be married, just like in the Eastern churches, that would have to come with a major cultural shift in the Western church, because there's no way that a priest could be called upon in the same way we are now and have a family. That would be unfair to our domestic church family. It would be unfair to our parish church family. The sacraments wouldn't change, our life of faith wouldn't change, but the way that people view their parish church, the way that people view their priest as someone who is always there for them, we wouldn't be able to always be there. So these are things to keep in mind as we continue these debates and conversations over a non-celibate priesthood. I think celibacy is a great gift to the church, and it's a great gift that any man or woman can give of themselves to the Lord as they enter into this very unique religious relationship with God. It's a gift that I certainly don't intend to ever give up, and it's a great gift to all of us from the great men and women who are leading us spiritually in their own religious lives. That's what I think.